All right, well, I'm Carla R is my stage name, and it's a pretty straight ahead, simple connection. It's my last name, and I decided to abbreviate it just to kind of get to the point faster, I guess you could say, when you're talking to people. And then over time, it actually began to merge with my instrument, guitar. And as I'm leaving like a jam or something like that, and someone says, hey, you got social media? And I say, Carla R, it rhymes with guitar. And so it's a really easy way to roll. So I stuck with Carla R, it works. Yeah. Jump points, I guess, that pull you in closer over time. And yeah, I can think of a few. Some of them are more vivid, concise moments, you know, that were kind of powerful, or, you know, cause you to kind of transition or reorient your thinking, or just get more obsessed with music, basically. And so I can remember especially one of the most vivid things that just kind of, it's no matter how many instruments I've learned or languages or settings or performances, this way of thinking and approaching has not changed at all for me. And I remember when I was 8 years old at KinderCare, actually, KinderCare over there on, it's not Battleground, it's not, no, it's by the old Fresh Market too, and a bank.
Lawndale?
Lawndale, yes, exactly, like you're going to the park, exactly, yeah. So at that very daycare, that's where I used to go, yeah. And they had a talent show one day after school, and I was the type of kid that just was in my own universe. I had like one friend maybe, and they were just as weird as me. So that's what kind of kid I was. I did not kind of fit in with the group. And but even still, when it came to music, suddenly my concerns about my social place went away. I didn't care. All of a sudden, I just heard music. It was something with that. And I just disregarded everything about the kids that made fun of me or the kids that wouldn't include me. It's like, don't care. You know what I mean? They don't exist. And so I signed up, and I'll never forget the teacher asking me and looking at me a little strangely, because I'm sure she thought, what is this kid going to do? I had no idea she did anything, you know. And I said, I just want to sing Bat Dance by Prince. And I'll never forget that, because the Batman soundtrack had come out. Yeah, exactly. And I didn't know what I meant by that either. I just knew that the music was in me, and I couldn't let go. I couldn't even explain what I was going to do. You know what I mean? And so they played the song, and I don't know what I did. I literally, I think, just flapped my wings like they do in the video, because they have a little element of, yeah, exactly. And I think that's all I did. And I know there could not be any coherent singing or lyrics or anything. And I'll never forget that moment of just an audience reaction. And I wasn't even aware of whether it was good or bad or anything. I was just like, yeah, that was fun. And so and I'm kind of the same way now, you know what I mean? Even though obviously I've done a lot of other things, you know, some instruments, some places, you know, things like that. But at the end of the day, that's still my approach. Like every Monday night, my favorite spot in Atlanta, that's exactly what I'm thinking. It's like, yeah, I just want to go play, you know. So that was a really powerful first experience, I think. And then from there, I can just remember at the same daycare, you know, they would have nap time and play like soft rock on the radio. And I just remember, for some reason, my imagination would just be flooded and so deep into it. You know, most kids are just kind of napping or whatever, you know. And I just remember sitting there so still, but just listening to things like Purple Rain and other songs, and just feeling just so like almost like comfort, like something was wrapping me up, you know. I listened to music, yeah. And so it just kind of went from there in terms of practical contact. I just asked for piano lessons when I was a kid, you know. I was kind of the one that always initiated. My parents never asked me about music or encouraged me to start anything. I just saw another kid playing piano. They looked like they were having fun. And I said, can I do piano? Then I said, can I do guitar? Can I do trombone? Can I do tuba? And that's just how it went. And I think, like, I was talking to a friend of mine in Atlanta recently who came from a family that wasn't real musical, kind of like mine. You know what I mean? They're great people. I'm sure, you know, my parents, brilliant folks, you know, but not music. That was not a thing. Like in fact, my dad wasn't even really into the fact that I was a musician. You know, it was not a good thing. And but it kind of makes you appreciate it more, you know what I mean? Because I didn't come from the type and I didn't have that. So every musical experience I had was just super, you know, distinctive for me, I guess you could say, because it was never gonna, you know, jump from anything from my family or anything like that. It was just me, you know, wanting to do it. And I think that really like stayed with me and made me kind of a do-it-yourselfer a lot too. I think it was a big thing. Like, I'm just gonna go ahead and make the contact with my ideas that I can, whether I feel like it's all packaged up in something fancy or slick or anything like that. I just want to get, you know, the feeling out there, you know. Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of a initial, jump point with the wacky, chaotic performance or whatever you want to call it at daycare. Because of the open-endedness, I guess, of my background, at first it felt very, you would think it would be kind of limiting to have, a family that wasn't so encouraging, at that. And to a certain extent, I don't want to make it sound so, critical, and I mean, they themselves weren't as into the arts, so they didn't have points of reference to guide me and say, try this or do this. It was just me finding contact in the world and just asking them to manage this process and, instruments and things like that. So it's kind of a good thing because that means I was not limited to any type of artist or genre. My parents didn't have an opinion about it, so that meant that I formed, my own perspective. And so that meant basically latching onto every opportunity I could. Marching band, Western Guilford, getting started there, jazz band, and had a cool opportunity to actually be the student conductor of our concert band before I graduated. And that gave me one of those first opportunities to look at all the moving parts of an ensemble in my first step back type of way at a young age. I was like, 15 or 16 or whatever, and my first, role doing that. And so that led me to want to major in music at UNC Chapel Hill. So that's kind of where that super formal pathway came in. I had things like, professional style. I didn't make money at it, but jazz band, you know what I mean? Because obviously they're training people to be musicians, so they treated us very, a certain standard of musicianship or whatever, and then of course the marching Tar Heels was a whole other world from symphony and concert band, so I just latched onto everything, and that's something I always advise students. I think too much in our society, we think, if you're pursuing an instrument or a sport, the idea is you're going to be the best and you're just going to be consumed by it, but you don't have to make that your thing. Like I play piano. I'm probably never going to get on the stage and do like a 2-hour piano show though. And I know that, and that's fine, you know what I mean? But it doesn't mean I should not practice piano, Exactly. And so I kind of had that spirit with everything. And so that really formal part got very developed, and I did my music degree and stuff like that. But then when I got out, I really was diving into guitar and just wanted to get into the practical world. You know what I mean? I saw Guns N' Roses, I saw Aerosmith, I saw bands like that. And that was my real connection to a musical dream, was let's be a rock star, 80s style, you know what I mean? Wide open, nobody gives about anything, you know what I mean? And so that was really where my spirit was, even though I really enjoyed learning about, history of music theory, all this great stuff. But when I got to the real world, I really wanted to have a band, be in a band, have a good time. And so that's why I got into guitar, because it allowed me to do that. I joined my first band here in kind of Winston-Salem, High Point, an old school R&B and funk band, and learned a lot of good lessons about gigging and balancing, having a good time with gigging, not losing track of what you're doing there, because you kind of get, perks as they want the musicians to be happy and, get a little couple of drinks or whatever, So kind of learning those things, and to kind of have that awareness of even though you're having this rock and roll good time, you're doing some serious things. You need a network, you need to promote, you have to do some kind of intentional things. So I think that's why it's good to plan and think about and talk about. I heard you narrating, of course, what you're doing, really being aware. Because in all truth, when I go, like to a North Side or even Blind Tiger, I remember when the Blind Tiger was open, that's where I really got my start, playing solo and stuff on another Monday night. And so when I, did things like that, I was like, wow, this can really gain momentum in some serious ways. So I try to have that in my subconscious so that I can let loose when I go out, because that's where you make contact with audiences. They don't want you to give a speech about what moves you're going to make next. They don't care. They just want to have a good time. You know what I mean? So I make sure that I've thought about that and kind of got it together, so that way when I get to the venue, I can just have a good time. You know what I mean? And have that type of experience. So I'm wanting to now, speaking of that, I'm wanting to now, the next project is called Love Descent, and it's bringing together just about every experience I've ever had, from the most classical and abstract and I got a couple of transitional. I want to bring back the interlude. I thought that was such a classic concept album, in the 70s, 80s exactly, where you have these cool little asides of something lo-fi abstract, and so I have several things like that, but then some more, of what some of my audience knows, rock, blues, funk, jam out type of things, and there's stuff like that too. So I'm trying to have this unprecedented, I guess, expansive view of what I'm doing creatively. Yeah, exactly. So it's a pivotal time in the world. So I feel like it's kind of really special to me too, because it's the whole just overwhelming, almost energy shifts happening. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just such a good time for me to put this type of just, you know, like, what do they say, balls out? Can I say that? I don't know. This is, yeah, I can't exactly. I don't. I'm trying to come up with daytime analogies and not at the bar at 1 o'clock in the morning analogies. Yeah, exactly. I know. So anyway, but just free form, I guess you could say. Yeah, no restrictions, no limitations, just put it all out there, you know, type of thing. So yeah, exactly. It's been great to come to this place, and like I said, I'm really excited. You know, of course, when you move away somewhere, sometimes you get the reaction like, okay, well, what's wrong with Greensboro? You know, why did you leave? You know, and I've really been saying the whole time, as I've told, you know, a lot of people when I come back at different places, I'm seeing this as two awesome places that can interact together. You know what I mean? I don't see it as I left one place and went to the other. We all enjoy the spirit of live music. So why is, you know, you're over here, your latitude and longitude is here, mine's over there, that's fine. You know what I mean? I want to remain connected. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And I love growing up in Greensboro. It's just one of the coolest places, I think, to grow up. But just kind of wanted a bigger stage, that's all. That's literally all that brought me to Atlanta. Something new. You know, I mean, that was kind of just a different scene, you know. Yeah, there's just absolutely nothing like the experience of playing live music. I can't think of a parallel, and not that I know everything, but of course my day job requires me to kind of get really deeply involved in a particular area of expertise in teaching Latin. And I guess in all the other periphery things I have to teach, like language and English and grammar and sound and reading and all these other things, there is no thing that pulls together all these things, like having to figure out how to organically, without anything on automation, I guess you could say, from your own mind, your own body, make this instrument make noise. And so that process and maintaining that process is just, it's all consuming, as they say, because I think what it is people, and that's why I think in society, especially in the United States, our culture is not traditionally as supportive of live music in the last, 20 or 30 years, because it's like, well, if I can get this slick sounding recording, why am I going to go watch a band struggle through this? You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And struggle might be a strong word, but people get wrapped up in the cool effects and the editing and stuff like that. But there's a certain organic connection that you just can't reproduce with a recording, you know what I mean? And putting yourself in that to be a creator, I think audiences see a part of the problem is they see me for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, a couple hours maybe, and that was that moment to them, you know what I mean? And I think that's why the uniqueness of creating live music and delivering it can be so hard to explain, but it's only explain through the experience itself. You know what I mean? You just kind of have to show it. It's almost like you just kind of have to walk through, okay, now I'm just sitting in my apartment at 10 o'clock in the morning practicing on Monday, just this past Monday. But then when you see me Monday night, it's like a whole other vibe. But it's all interdependent and connected. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't even think I was the same person. It's like I'm wearing a button-up shirt and sitting, I don't know, in the park somewhere, yeah, exactly. So live music, creating it it's addictive, and it's the most challenging thing I can think of too. Yeah, it's definitely more challenging than Latin, because with Latin there's a lot of rote memorization, a lot of keeping track of details, but with music you have to bring your emotional well-being into it. Like the day of a show when I'm advising, sometimes I would coach kids in different roles. I was like a, guitar club instructor or some other, I did a musical theater help with that one time at a school. And and when I would coach kids on how to not be as nervous, you know what I mean, and kind of work through stage fright at least, I tell them the number one thing on the day of the show, try to remain as happy and as positive as you can. And it really does make a difference, because you breathe more naturally. And as we all know, for projecting and singing, the number one thing, you got to have the breath going, you know what I mean? And so that's a good example of where you have to bring your whole being, nutrition, all these other things, even fitness, a lot of rock stars want to admit it, but yeah, when you're trying to be as keeping yourself up as well as you can, you put on better shows. It's easier to do. It's easier to put on good shows, technically, technique speaking, when you're healthier. So it's just, that's why I say you just have to bring in every aspect of yourself to do that. And our society needs to, I wish we could support it more. I really do. Yeah, well, if you kind of halfway enjoy listening to me just now, you could catch a little bit more on social media. What are some great spots to start with? Instagram, Guitarist 1981. So Guitarist, like me, 1981. So you can check that out. Also at Twitter, it's the same handle. You can also check out my YouTube channel under my publishing entity called Low Korean Acropolis Music. Easy way to pull that together. Go to YouTube, LA Music ATL. So like LA, yeah, but not LA. Stands for Low Korean Acropolis, but yeah, LA Music ATL. Carla R is the thing to Google. That's the best place to start. There are a few different platforms. I got SoundCloud going on. There's definitely some developing content with YouTube. I'd say that's the most exciting front I have going on right now. I'm trying to really get into, you know, just that kind of behind the scenes, you know, that kind of, you know, just this is life as it integrates, you know, for me with my life and music, you know. So just check all that out. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. And if you happen to be, until the project gets out there, as I said, Love Descent. So look out for it. Hashtag Love Descent is going to be my next project. And so in the meantime, my band is kind of, you know, we're grooving. We're in transition. We're expanding some ideas. So right now, the band, the Quasars, is not doing regular shows around Atlanta right now. But as a lot of people already know, my Atlanta fam, or if you're passing through, you know, Atlanta, we like visitors. Okay, unless you make traffic worse, then maybe don't, but I know if you're visiting or you live in Atlanta, Northside Tavern Monday night, I promise it is the hottest Monday night and jam in Atlanta. I love some jams all over the metro area, but I'm telling you, there's something special and magical. So I'm there every Monday, sharing old and new stuff, having a good time, and, you know, join us. Yeah. Cool.